What's going on, liminal space lovers? This is Dream Spy. I had a lot of comments on my previous video asking how I did the VHS effects, um, what programs I'm using, etc. to make my videos. I use Blender to make my videos, and there's a lot of ways to make the backrooms, obviously, but I'm just gonna go over just kind of the things that I've figured out and what works for me and the style that I want to emulate. Of course, my style, there's two different ways I do it. Uh, I'm going to go into the compositing right now. So I'm in Blender right now. What you do is first you set up your scene, and then right before you render, once you have everything how you want it to have, want everything to be, you go into the compositing node or the compositing tab. And then what I do is I actually put, you see it's super laggy. Like I have so much things going on. Like it's because what's really lagging me is the geoscatter add-on that I use to put all the plants, and that's pretty much what's gonna lag. If you have like a really complex scene, you're gonna lag even if you have a really good computer. But besides that, the compositor, for the compositing, what I do is I put the lens dirt. So this is the lens dirt. Okay, I put an image. This is the compositing node. Okay, so this is after you're already done and you're about to render. Then you go into compositing, and you're just gonna mess with the settings a little bit just to make it a little bit more realistic. So I put the lens dirt as an image. Make sure you put use nodes. I have the lens dirt right there. I have that connected into a transform. Okay, and then that transform is connected to a screen. Okay, and then that's going into the composite. And then the layers are actually going into a lens distortion. That lens distortion is what's going to give it that fisheye effect. So I have that into the lens distortion, and there's a lot of settings you can do. It just, you got to mess around with it just to see what you like. But for me, I just put very, very slight fisheye, just like the slightest fisheye, just to make it seem like it's actually you, like, looking through the camera, like, your actual eye. So the image is not so flat. You kind of want that fisheye effect. And then I have a glare node right here as well. So I have all that connected, and I'll zoom in just to pause here for a second, just to make sure you guys got that composite setting. Okay, and then right now I'll go into the setup of the actual map and the backgrounds and everything I use. And hopefully my computer doesn't crash, because I swear my renders are getting more and more complex every video, and my computer's struggling. The resolution, I'm using 960 by 720 on this previous video. You can mess around with the resolution. It doesn't have to be exactly the same thing. You can lower the resolution so you can get faster renders. This is just something I use for this video, but I change that resolution all the time, depending on the video and depending how fast I want to actually render. So for the output, I use AVI JPEG, which is the video format, and then I put the quality depending on how high the quality I want it to be. But if I want it to render faster, I put the quality a little bit down. And what that does as well, when you put the quality a little bit lower, it's actually gonna hide your mistakes. So you don't even have to have like a perfect render or like a perfect scene. As long as you lower the quality and lower the resolution, you're gonna be able to hide a lot of your mistakes. And I love making backrooms videos, like, for this particular video, I use the 31mm focal length, and I have it on perspective, and I use depth of field, of course. And this depth of field, I'll actually animate it as well. So I have it set as default 4 meters, and I'll also animate the f-stop as well. So depending on the scene or what I want to happen, I'll basically be animating the distance of the depth of field and the aperture, which is the f-stop. The f-stop is just going to make it blurrier or sharper. And the depth of field, of course, is where your eye is going to focus. Like, your eye naturally focuses on different distances depending on where you're looking. And that's kind of the effect you kind of want to give it. As you're walking through the back rooms, you're going to be altering these just a little bit, here and there, just to kind of give it that realistic, I guess, vibe or whatever you want to call it, just to make it as real as possible. Just like your eye in real life, you focus on different things and other things become blurry. So that's what I do. And if you want to animate that, all you do is hold your mouse over, let's say the aperture, the f-stop, and then you just press I. I'm not going to press it right now because it's going to lag like crazy. I have everything already. This is like my completed project. Like everything's already completed. So it's pretty much going to lag like crazy. But basically, I'll animate that. So I'll just press I, move the frames forward, and then change the number, and then I'll press I again. Okay, so I on your keyboard is to set a keyframe. Okay, and same thing with the depth of field. I'll animate that as well. So I'll change the frames, the distance, and I'll animate it as well. So I'll just press I at 4, and then let's say I'll move a couple frames forward, and then I'll change the number of the distance, and then I'll press I again. I use the Camera Shakeify add-on as well. This is a really good add-on, Camera Shakeify, and I have it set very, very low. The reason I have set very, very low is because I want it to be shaking like a little bit as he's walking, but not so much where it's like crazy, like you can't tell what's going on, okay? So just very low, and I add 2 of them. I stack 2 of them on top of each other. I stack the investigation shake, and then I just press a little button here, add, and then I put walk to the store as well. Okay, there's different settings, but I put walk to the store and investigation. I stack them on top of each other, and then I change the influence to like 0.28, and then the scale as well. I'll lower the scale as well because I don't want it to be moving too much. Depending on the scene, you're going to be changing this, but you can also animate this, but I don't animate this. I just set it as 1, and then I go about my business. Okay, so that's the compositing node. That's the settings on the side, the camera settings, 31 millimeters, like I said. The resolution 960 by 720. It doesn't have to be exactly this, guys. You can actually lower the resolution to get faster renders. And then for the render, I usually use 400, 320 up to 400. On this previous video, I used 400, so it did take a little bit longer to render, but I like the results. It was a lot cleaner, and I do use denoising right here. Okay, so once I render my actual clip in Blender and I actually have the clip done and I have the clip saved on my computer, I'll bring in this program. I don't always use this program, okay guys, so sometimes I'll use Adobe After Effects to actually get that VHS looking effect, but in this particular case, I didn't want to use After Effects because I wanted to see how good the render will come out, like the final video, if I don't use After Effects, because like Adobe After Effects is like what everyone uses to make their videos right now, but I wanted to be a little bit different and just to see what kind of results I got. So I bring in this program. The program is called, let me see the actual name of the program. Oh, we got a glitch here. Okay, so the actual name of this program is NTSCQT. Okay, and if you look that up on Google, it'll come out, and it's the most recent one. It's the most updated one. So right here at the top, it says NTSC-QT, which is basically just a VHS emulating program. And I'll actually put in the clip. So I'll put VHS emulating, and then I'll turn all these settings down. Okay, so I'll alter all these settings, and I'll put them all the way down. I don't want to alter it too much. You can mess around with the settings as much as you want, but basically I'll put all these settings all the way down. I'll open my file. Here, I'll go to Backrooms Origins, which is where I have all my files. But let's say I have, let's see here. I've been messing around a lot. So basically I put the clip in, and this one's usually at 1, but basically, and then you change the render height as well here, and I think I had it at, what was it, 960? Render height 960 or whatever. You have to match the render height to your output from Blender, so 960, right, for the top there, and then I put that as the render height. Okay, and then all you do is hit render video as, and then you save it, of course, and I have all the clips saved here, as you can see. And once you have the clips saved in here, after you run it through your VHS program, so it's Blender first, you create your scene, make sure your compositing is on point, you render your scene, and then you bring that scene into whatever VHS program that you want. or you don't have to you don't even have to as well. You can actually just use Adobe After Effects or any other video editing program and just mess with the settings and get a similar look. But I like to put it into this program for this particular video because I like the way it was coming out, and I wanted to mess around because I'm actually experimenting a lot to see the kind of different looks I can get on my backrooms videos. So once I actually have it in this program right here, I'll render video as, and as it's rendering, you can also look. I'll show you. I'll put a render test 1. Okay, as it's rendering, if you want to mess with it, different frames, what you do is you put pause render. So you see the VHS program is working. You can see the progress right here is the frames. So there's 226 frames here. I run 24 frames per second, by the way, on the renders. And as it's running like this, all you do is you hit pause render. You pause it, and then you can actually mess with the settings. So I'll put the video noise up. You see how it starts getting like a little bit grainy, and then you hit pause render again, and it'll actually render with that increased video noise or whatever setting you want. You can mess with the settings as you're going, and it'll basically change the VHS effects as the frames are going or as the video is going. And then you pause render again. And I basically just keep doing that as the video is rendering, like for the second time, in the VHS program. I'll be messing with the settings right here. Okay. So I'm not going to do it all the way, but you guys got to get the point. You just pause render, mess with the settings. Let's see. I'll just mess with the settings just to kind of show you. Like I don't use any of these settings, honestly. I just put everything to 0 most of the time. And then I pause render again. You see, and you can get a lot of different effects. So I like this program, even though it's kind of like looked down upon in the backrooms community. Not that many people like using this program. It's whatever. I mean, I like getting different looks on each video, just depending on how I'm experimenting. But as you can see, the video changes a lot. If you mess with these settings, you're going to get a lot of different effects. Okay. And you kind of want to be switching the settings as the video renders, just to kind of give it that realistic VHS effect, because the VHS is not like perfect the whole time. So it kind of messes around. The settings get changed a little bit, or it kind of glitches out. So if you want to glitch it out, I think Edge Wave is a good one here. Kind of glitches it out. Chroma noise, video noise, max that out to see what happens. You see it gets really grainy. Look at that. You see? And that will actually look pretty good, honestly. So after it renders, the program's going to close. So don't worry. Like, look, it's about to be finished, the render on the VHS program. It's going to close the program, but it still saved your video. Okay, so don't worry. So it's going to close the program. Okay, so you're going to be like, whoa, what happened? All you do is go find the file. If you find the file, it's going to be there. Okay. So it's going to close, but you already saved your file wherever you saved it, and it's going to be good. Okay, so let me pause here for a second. Okay, so make sure you're on cycles. Every time I make a video, everything is rendered in cycles. I don't like Eevee very much. You can do videos in Eevee, but for me personally, I just use cycles. And this is kind of like an overview of the beginning of the map. So the video starts off right here, okay, in this area. If I can get it in there, it's because it's kind of tight in here. And I'm not very good at navigating, honestly, to be real. So I made just like a very simple room. Started off with a cube. I just extruded the edges, started messing around. And these little details that I add, the ceiling, of course, is going to be a wireframe. So first you have your ceiling, like the actual plane. You duplicate it, and then you add a wireframe modifier to it, and then you just thin it out, and that's going to give you these little slits right here that create the ceiling. And then this vent and this fire sprinkler right here, if I can get to it, this is all from Blender Kit. Okay, so if you have Blender Kit installed, all you do is search up, like I say, like fire sprinkler. Let's see if it comes up. And I have the free version, so you don't have to pay for anything. It's this one right here, as you can see, fire sprinkler mounted. You just drag it in, okay, and then you just throw a couple in there, here and there, throughout your ceilings, and that kind of just adds those little details is what really makes it realistic, guys. So same thing with the vent here. I think I just put like air vent maybe. So to save time, I don't model everything myself, even though I could, but it just take more time. So a lot of things I'll just add it in. So yeah, it's this one right here. Either this one, there's a few of them you can use. So this one right here, air extractor, vent right there. I've used that one before. There's this one right here, small wall one. That one's pretty good too. This one right here. So there's a lot of them you can use, like this one. So air vent. Maybe if I just put vent. Whoops. Yeah. So you can use whichever one, but make sure it's one of these that you can actually mount onto the wall. I think honestly it was probably this one, and then I just stretched it out and I made it into a square. Okay, so those vents and that fire sprinkler are gonna add a lot of realism to your renders. And then I think the last thing I used was like a fire alarm. I don't know if it's gonna come up or not. I forgot what I searched for that one, but there's like a, right now I'll look for it. Right here, this one. This one right here, like this little fire alarm thing. If you just add a couple of those throughout your render, it adds a lot of realism to it. Smoke detector, I think is what it's called. Yeah, it's this one, smoke detector. Okay, this one or this one looks more realistic. So I use this one and I'll just drag it in. Okay, I'm just saving time. Honestly, it's gonna take a lot of time to set up your scene. So if you can grab some assets that are already made, you're gonna save yourself a lot of trouble and a lot of headaches, honestly, because building everything from scratch is what takes you a long time to make your renders. And honestly, we just want the content, right? So you can put a lot of time and customize everything, of course, but this is just little small things. Like you're not really going to notice them either way. You don't really look at them too much while you're walking through the back rooms. Right here on the walls, I have textures, and all I do for the textures is once I create my room or whatever, I'll bring in the image as planes. So it's already in Blender and preferences. Just go to add-ons and then put image as planes. If it's not enabled, just enable that. Import images as planes. And then basically all you do is add image and then images as planes. And what you're going to do for the images as planes is just going to add in your texture. So I have a textures folder here, but honestly, like my stuff is crazy. Like I have so much stuff. Like you see, I have a lot of textures here. And I'll basically just add in that texture and I'll just put it right on top of the wall. And then for the shading, you can also mess with that. You go to the shader editor. Oh, wrong one. Let's go to the object. So for the textures, you can just add in a color ramp. So let me make this bigger. You add in a color ramp, right, to your textures, and you just put that in between the base color, right? The two right here, color to factor, and that color to the base color, and you basically just alter this right here, and that's going to make your texture either darker or brighter, or helps it kind of blend into the wall behind it. And that's all you do. All you do is add in a color ramp. That's it. Nothing complicated. Okay, so that's pretty much that. For the wall textures, I think, let me see here. For the wall textures, oh, that's the carpet. Hold on a second. I have so much going on here. Like once the render's actually done, it gets crazy. But for the actual carpet, I actually use Kane Pixels carpet. So I actually have that saved here somewhere on my downloads folder. I just type in Kane Pixels and then I have it saved right here. You see the carpet. So maybe I'll include a link in the description for that carpet. And I just add it in as the floor. And then what I do is I add in a color ramp and plug it into the roughness, add a color ramp right here at the top, connect it to your color, obviously to the factor, and then the color to the base color, and then you just mess with that color ramp, and that's going to make it look a lot better. And then if it doesn't come out right, obviously you can use the UV editor and then decrease or increase the size. So if this is like too complicated for you guys, then just get into some, maybe I'll make another video like going step by step, but just kind of running it down very simply. And then that's the beginning room. Okay, so I started off right here. With the model, and he's walking through, and as he goes through the rooms, eventually he gets to a different section right here, which is where the door is. And the same thing, that door right here is actually from Blender Kit. So I'll go to doors on Blender Kit. I'll look that up. And of course I can model this, guys, from scratch, but I'm just trying to save time here building my maps. So it's this one right here. It's like the best door. It's like the most simple one. This one right here, this gray door. And I just add that in basically, and then I'll just alter the size and I just plug it right in. I mean, I save a lot of time. Okay, so that's that door. And then once he crosses into that door, obviously you got to change the room. The next room is going to be a little bit different, but the same thing for the ceiling. I have my wireframe modifier for those little squares in the ceiling, and then of course I have the normal ceiling, and then I add in my vents, and I add in my smoke detectors and fire alarms or fire sprinklers. And then for this particular room, I just added in some pillars just to kind of change up the look. Okay, I kind of wanted like a mall type feel. And then I actually used the geoscatter add-on, which it costs money for the geoscatter, so I'm not going to cover it too much because I'm trying to make this everything free. But before I had the geoscatter add-on, I was actually using Blender Kit, and I would just look up like grass or like flowers, and I would actually manually add in I would actually manually add these in as well, which is crazy. Let me see if I have a render here that I can look up. Hold on a second. And it's going to be pretty hard to find because I have so much stuff, but let's see right here. Well, basically what you're going for is this type of look. Right, let me see. So this is basically what it looks like when it's actually rendered, but you don't need the plants. Like, I just added that in just to kind of like change it up a little bit. Backrooms is pretty boring, so you got to kind of add these interesting little nuggets and stuff. And you can see the smoke alarm right here. You can see the fire sprinkler. Just very subtle stuff, very subtle details is what's going to give it that effect, realistic effect. And the pillars, the textures that I use for the wall in this one are from Blender Kit as well, because Blender Kit's going to save you so much time. You can just look up like concrete on Blender Kit, and I'll add that in. You got to mess around, guys. You got to experiment a lot to get the look that you're going for. But like this one, concrete pavement would be a pretty good one. And then you just add that into like your object or whatever. So this one actually is plaster. So let's say I look up material plaster, and then the plaster is going to be right here. There's different types, so you got to mess with it. You can get so much different results. Like, you can make so many different types of rooms and actually, get really nice stuff. I'm not gonna lie, like, you can make some crazy stuff. But I think I was using either this one or this one for the plaster for this room. I used either this plaster 1 or plaster 4K, and I added that into these pillars. Okay, and all I did was for those pillars was add in an array modifier. So I made one pillar, and then I added an array modifier to it, and then I just multiplied it and duplicated it a couple times around the room. Nothing complicated. Once he walks through this room, before I move on, this part of the room is tile, so same thing. I just go to materials on Blender Kit, tile, and then I look for different tiles, and some of them are good, some of them are not good at all. So I'll look through. It takes more time to actually look for the proper material, honestly, than to actually create the map. So I'll go through all these, and I'll just be looking at them, and I'll be like trying them out, and whichever one looks good to me and for that particular room. Like, I think this one was either this one. One of these is the tiles I actually picked. But the way I did this room is I actually separated sections. So, part of it's going to be like, like this. It's going to look like this. So part of it's going to be this tile texture. And then, of course, this other texture is going to be like dirt. So I did the same thing on Blender Kit. I looked up dirt or grass, and then I added that into this section right here. And all you do is you hit assign on UV editor, and you basically change the sections, okay? Just to vary it up a little bit. The pillars, once again, plaster, and then the walls, of course, plaster. Different types of plaster. and then the top wall or the top ceiling I think is just like concrete or something. So you got to mess around with it just depending on what type of look you're looking for. So let me go back to the door. Okay, so this is the door. Okay, as you can see with the render, it looks really good. And then you can see that texture up there. That texture up there is that images planes texture with the color ramp messed around. This wall texture is actually from, I think it's textures.com. Right now I'll pause and look it up. Either textures.com, but it's the one Kane Pixels use. So this is the actual texture, the original backrooms, and then all it is with the color ramp messed around. Same thing, color ramp is going to save you so much, like it's going to give that effect. Okay, so let me exit that. Okay, so let's go to the next room real quick. So the map is not too big, as you can see. I mean, it's big, but as you're walking through it, it doesn't seem that big. And it takes more work than you actually think to actually get it like the way you want it. Go over here to this section. There's so much stuff going on, like, gotta click it. And I'm not the best at navigating Blender, honestly. Okay, so right there, these pipes right here that I use are actually from Max Hay. There's a guy on YouTube called Max Hay. He's a really good Blender artist, and I basically bought his course, and he has these assets, and he has these pipes in his course, and I added those pipes in right here, and you can barely see them in my render, so it's like it's no big deal. You can even use like Blender Kit to find pipes, like pipes, and then you can actually add these in as well. These ventilation pipes are really good. I actually used these in one of my test renders that I was doing. I had like the ceiling tile broken. Like one of the ceilings was like broken, and if you looked up into the ceiling, I actually used these ventilation pipes. It looked really good. And then I had some wires like hanging to kind of make it look like realistic, but okay, so that's that. Same thing here. This light right here was actually from Blender Kit as well. This red light. All I did was change this light. I just added in, or I changed the color of the actual light to like red. You see right here, base color. So I changed it to red, so it looked like kind of like a, you know, like caution. And then right there, you see those ventilations, those vents. I put them on the wall. It's like so simple. Just like make your map, make the walls, add some ventilation things in there just to make it look realistic. No big deal. Zoom out a little bit. And then the arcade room was like the most complex, and that's when my computer started lagging, when I had the arcade, because like I had so much going on here with this arcade. Same thing with the ceiling, add in the ventilations, vents, add in some smoke detectors or whatever. And then the neon lights is a little bit harder to create because I wanted to be realistic, or like, well, in my head, the way I was looking at it is all you do is you use an emission texture. So let's see here, we got the emission. Is it that one? Yeah, it's an emission texture. And just turn up the emission and the emission. Okay, so for the arcade, let me go to the arcade here. Have it right here. So for the arcade, I have a lot of arcade machines. These arcade machines are actually 3D models that I downloaded either from CG Trader or one of those 3D websites, 3D models, free 3D models. And I just typed in arcade machines, and I got these. And they didn't have any textures on them, but they did include the textures with the model. So then I just added those in. And let me play it here for you guys so you just kind of see. So those are the arcade machines that you can see there on the left and the right. I actually downloaded the video game arcade, like the video of the actual arcade game, and I actually layered it on top of the arcade machine, and I actually played that as a video. And that's a little bit, maybe I'll get into that in another video, but basically these arcade machines, while he's walking through, are actually playing the game. Like they're actually playing the video of the actual game. So I might not be able to see it here. No, it's not this clip. Let's see. I'm not very organized here. There we go. Okay, so as he's walking through, you can barely even see him. I don't know. I spent so much time like fixing this, like you can even barely even see him. So I feel like it was a waste of time, but he's walking forward, and the machines are actually working. Like they're actually moving, and you can actually see the games playing. Okay, and like you can barely even see them. I don't know why I spent so much time, but I actually put each one, like the actual game is playing on the screen. So I downloaded the game footage and then I actually layered it on top. Inside of Blender, you do all that inside of Blender. And maybe I'll get into that on another video, but just like when he walks through, the Mortal Kombat's actually playing. And I have all the sounds as well, so let me see. No, it's not going to show it there. Okay, so let me go into the lighting real quick. So do you see those squiggly lines right there? Those squiggly lines, like the lights, are actually just emissions. So I create an object, I'll add it into the scene, and then I'll just make that into an emission texture. So surface, emission, and then for this one I put 7 as a strength, and then the color is going to be that bluish green, like an aqua, right? Kind of like that arcade vibe. And then these chairs right here are just downloaded again from like a 3D model website. And it had a really cool color, like that aqua color. So I thought that was really nice, and I added them in. I mean, you're saving yourself so much time, guys, and actually modeling everything from scratch. It's going to take you longer to make your maps, you know. And same thing with these lights. I think I either downloaded them or they're from Blender Kit. So I just looked up like lights and I just started looking at different ones. There's like so many of them, so I just put like lights. And then there's so many different types of lights here that they have. And it was one of those, and then I just altered it a little bit, scaled them. And yeah, that's the lights. All the lights in my renders are all emission textures. Okay, so even, let me see here. Even from the previous rooms, like they're all emission textures. Okay, so all the lights in my rooms, like this one right here, like these lights right here, are just like squares, like planes, right? They're just planes, and then I just added emission, like as the texture, as the surface, emission surface, and then just mess with the color a little bit, make it the color you want, kind of like a yellowish white, and then just alter the strength. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple stuff. For these vents, I forgot to mention this. For these vents, to make the black underneath it, I'll add in the vent, and then I'll duplicate one of these lights, and I'll put it there underneath the vent, and then I'll turn that light that I just duplicated, I'll turn that into a black emission. Okay, so you see the shadow underneath the vents? That's for a reason, because if you just put the vent on top of the ceiling, like you're still going to be able to see the gray underneath it. So that's why I do that. I do a black emission surface on a square, and I put that underneath the vent, and that's going to give it that shadow. Okay, so you can't even see, like, I don't even think I can target them, but let's see. Yeah, you can't even target those, but I think I made it all one piece, but that's how I do the shadows for the vents. Like you can't even, you see how there's like a little, it's hard to even target them because like they're so in there. But that's how I do the shadows. I just do an emission texture, but it's black. And that's how I do the shadows for the vents, and I just put them in there. You see black vents, you see right there. See, I combined them with Control J. And that's how I make it all one piece. But you see black vents, and it's just an emission texture, black, and that's the shadow. Okay, so the squiggly line, an emission, that's for the arcade. So this is for the arcade only. Okay, the carpet is going to be right here. You just look up on materials on Blender Kit, you just look up arcade, and then it's going to be this one right here, 90s arcade carpet. And that's what I added to the floor, and that's the arcade section. So maybe if let me open this up real quick. So it's really dark right here, but that's the arcade carpet right there. Those are the chairs, kind of like that aqua. The lights, once again, emissions, and then these lights on top as well. They're just like 3D models I downloaded. If I can't find anything, I'll actually just download. If I can't find a 3D model that I like, I'll just create the 3D model myself. Okay, I'm just doing it to save time. And then once again, the door, when he's about to exit the arcade, it's one of those doors again, the gray doors. that I showed you in the beginning of the video. And then the wall right here was all arcade carpet as well. And my scene started lagging a lot. So if you actually notice, like, let me actually open it. Let's see if I can open the door here without lagging my computer. I'll open the door, but you're going to notice there's nothing there. So I actually started lagging a lot at this point because I had so much stuff going on in my scene that I actually had to create another blend file, and that's going to be the continuation of this room. So let me actually try to open it up here, see if my computer doesn't crash. Must be this one. No, it's not. Arcade fixed exit. I think it's this one. All right, please don't crash. What lags the computer is actually so much emission materials. I think that's what lags me out. So give that a second, and we'll get on to the next part of the video, which is going to be the last room, or the last part of the video. When he exits the arcade, he goes into like this place where it's like outdoors. And that one was real simple to do, like so easy to do. Actually, that was probably the easiest room to do, or the easiest section to do of the back rooms for that video. Oh, did we crash here? Oh, there we go. Okay, so as you can see, it's just like the door. The reason I did the door like that, let me see if I got the timeline here. Let's go to timeline here at the top. Let's go back. Okay, so it's going to be skipped. Okay, maybe because I deleted everything, but basically as he's exiting the door, he goes into the next room, right? And it's actually outdoors. So the way I did this was very simple. I added in a plane, as you can see right here. I swear my navigation is just a little bit off here. So I added in a plane, and this plane is actually using the geoscatter add-on. So I used the geoscatter add-on, and I just added in like the lavender, like the purple plants or whatever. Maybe I can find here like a render example here. But as he's walking out, the way you do it is very simple. You go to the world. Since he's outdoors, like it's nighttime or whatever, all I did was make the background black. So you go to the world settings right here, and then all I did was make the background black, and that's like, nighttime. And then I added in a circle or a sphere right here, and now it's going to be my moon. And same thing, I did it into an emission texture. And this one I made it really, really strong. So this one's like 1,000. And then I made it like a grayish, like a gray white. You know how moonlight's kind of like gray white, bluish. So I made it like just like a gray. And that's my moonlight. Okay, so there's only one light source. Well, one major light source in this area. These trees are from BlenderKit, I believe. So let me go to BlenderKit here. These trees are from BlenderKit, I believe. See, I'm already lagging. These trees also lag you out because they have so many polygons. But basically, all I did was search up tree on BlenderKit, like tree, and it's like a dead tree. And the reason I did that is because, let's see, free first. Yeah, it's this one right here. You see dead tree version 1. And then there's like a dead tree version 2 that I use as well. And it's somewhere here, but basically you just look up trees right here. Dead tree version 2. And all I did was add in version 1 and version 2 a couple times, and then I just altered the sizes, rotated them, duplicated them, and I did that a bunch of times, and that's the length of the scene or whatever, of the ground plane, made them equal. So it's very simple. This scene was like the most simple scene. It's just a ground plane, add some trees. The background is just black, so you can't see anything. And then I added in these little lights right here, so you can see them. These little lights are actually just like illuminating the path that I made. Okay, so those lights right there, I just duplicated them, or I think I just did an array modifier. Let me check here. Yeah, it's just an array modifier, as you can see. And then once I had one side, all I did was duplicate that side, duplicate that light, and then I put it on the other side. you know, and that's another array modifier right here as well, as you can see. So those lights are not too big of a deal, but they just give a little bit of light. Let me see what the emission strength is. So the emission strength is about 50, but they're real tiny lights, so it doesn't make that much of a difference. But it's just a little details like that. And then the actual middle part of the path is actually another texture that I used from, it was just like, you know, like, it's like either a concrete or like asphalt road texture. That's what it is, road texture. Yeah, it's one of these. I was trying to make a road, but I just didn't like the way it was coming out. Like, I always do this. I add in textures and I just don't like the way it looks, and I just keep messing around until I find a texture I like. But it was one of these textures, but it had like rocks. So if I could find it, let's see here, like an example. Super organized. But basically, yeah, that's the end scene. It's the most simple scene. This is like the most simple one. Just the trees, one long plane, one long ground plane as the middle path where he's walking. And the geoscatter add-on, I used it for the side. So when he's looking around, it's just like flowers. And then the dead trees kind of give it that like, kind of like creepy look. And then the major light source, of course, is going to be the moon. And that's what kind of gives it that darkness feel. And then when I'm editing the video, I actually added in the sound effects, which is like the crickets chirping or whatever in the background, and that's what made it look like it's, you know, nighttime. Okay. And then I added in the doors right here, different types of doors. Oh, there's my model there. As you can see, here's the model. There's the model. I added in the flashlight. The flashlight, again, is from Blender Kit, so you just look up flashlight. There's so much going on, like simple stuff, but it's one of these. I think it's this one, this vintage flashlight, but I changed the color from that aqua green. I made it black, so like just like a black color flashlight. And then I changed the light source. I changed that as well. So there's just little things here. Yeah, I made it into a spotlight. And I don't know why I changed the power to... Oh, okay, yeah, it's because when he turns on the flashlight, I actually animated it right here. So when he's turning on the flashlight, I animated that using right here the spot, the power. All you do is hit I, and then you change from 0 to whatever you're turning it on to. As you can see, I'm animating it, and he turns on the flashlight, and then it goes to 1,000. You see, so it starts off at 0. Exit this. It starts off at 0 when he's turning on the flashlight. Obviously, it's off, and then I animated the right here using I to insert keyframe, and he turns it on, and then it turns on to 1,000 watts. Okay, and as he was doing that, I animated his arm moving, as you can see right here. So it's nothing crazy, like no crazy animations, but just real simple.
Jeremy. Jeremy. Can you hear me? Nathan. Nathan kills dude. This can't be happening, boys. Can't be happening. Holy shit.